Tiger Woods literally brainwashed himself into greatness. Man, he started doing it before he could master golf. Viewers, think about that for a second. This isn't a story about a prodigy who was born different. This is the story of a kid who was handed a system, a deliberate, repeatable scientific system for building an unbreakable mind. And the crazy part, you can steal that system today. You can use it on the first tee on Saturday morning. You can use it before a 3-foot putt that feels like it could break you. But to understand why it works, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to a cassette player. Back to a bedroom wall. Back to the origin of the greatest mental game in golf history. Tiger was a kid. His dad, Earl, handed him a cassette player. That cassette were motivational self-talk recordings. Repetitive, rhythmic messages designed to shape the way Tiger spoke to himself. Tiger listened to those recordings so many times and wore the tapes out. Over and over, the same lines, till they didn't feel like external messages anymore. Until they became his internal voice. But viewers, he didn't stop at listening. He wrote those messages down by hand, line by line, word for word. And then he did something that I think is absolutely underrated in sports psychology circles. He taped those handwritten affirmations onto his bedroom wall. The first thing he saw, every morning. The last thing he saw, before going to sleep. Lines like these: I will own my own destiny. My will moves mountains. I smile at obstacles. I do it with all my heart. Now, at first glance, these might sound like motivational poster slogans, but fellow golfers, they're not. There's a very specific psychological mechanism at work here, and when you understand it, you'll never look at self-talk the same way again. What Tiger was building were what's called identity statements. Not goals, not hopes, not reminders. Identity statements. There's a critical difference, and it comes down to how your brain processes language. When you say, I want to be a better putter, your brain registers desire, possibility, something not yet real. But when you say, I trust my stroke, present tense, first person, declarative, your brain starts to treat it as fact. Sports psychologists call this self-concept reinforcement. The idea that repeated first-person statements, especially ones delivered with emotion and regularity, begin to reshape how you see yourself, and how you see yourself determines how you perform under pressure. Research from the University of Michigan found that athletes who used identity-based self-talk, I am focused, I am ready, showed lower cortisol levels in high-pressure situations, compared to those who used instructional self-talk alone. Translation: when you believe something about yourself deeply enough, your nervous system stops treating pressure as a threat. It treats it as familiar ground. So, Tiger wasn't just motivating himself with those cassette tapes. He was literally reprogramming his internal operating system, building the neural architecture that would later allow him to drain a 15-foot putt on the 72nd hole of a major, as if he'd done it 1,000 times. Because in his mind there are 3 reasons Tiger's system was so effective, and they all have names in modern psychology. Pillar 1. Repetition. The brain learns through repetition. Full stop. Whether it's a chip shot or a thought pattern, the more you repeat something, the more deeply it's encoded. Neural pathways strengthen with use. That's not philosophy, it's neuroscience. By playing those tapes over and over until they literally wore out, Tiger was etching those messages into long-term memory. Okay, let's move on to Pillar 2, multisensory encoding. Tiger didn't just listen, he listened and wrote and displayed 3 different sensory inputs: -1, auditory, 2, kinesthetic, and 3, visual, all carrying the same message. When you engage multiple senses with the same idea, the brain processes it as more real, more important, more worth storing. It's the reason you remember a meal better if you cooked it than if you just ate it. And finally, Pillar 3, environmental priming. The bedroom wall piece is genius. Your environment shapes your thoughts before you've even chosen to think. First thing in the morning, last thing at night. Tiger's brain was being exposed to those identity statements in the moments of lowest cognitive defense. No distraction, no ego resistance. Just the messages, going straight in. Now, you might be thinking, that's Tiger Woods, born into golf, coached from age 2. That kind of mental programming works when you're a prodigy. But, viewers, I want to push back on that, because Earl Woods didn't hand Tiger those tapes, because he was a prodigy. He handed him those tapes to help him manage a brain that would otherwise be consumed by self-doubt, expectation, and fear. The same self-doubt, expectation, and fear that you feel standing on the first tee on a Saturday morning. The difference between you and Tiger isn't the biology of your brain. It's the investment you've made in programming it. Think about the voice in your head right now. When you're over a putt, you've missed 3 times this year. What does it say? When you push one right into the trees on a hole, you always push right. What does it say? For most amateur golfers, that voice is like running software that was never deliberately installed. It's just whatever life put there. Past failures, critical parents, competitive embarrassments, comparisons to playing partners. Tiger took that default software and replaced it intentionally, systematically, before he ever competed at the highest level. That's the real lesson here. That's exactly what bite-sized golf wisdom is about. The inner game isn't soft. It's a system, and systems can be learned. So golfers, here's how you build your version of Tiger's system. 3 steps. Simple, but only effective if you actually do them. Step 1. Write your 3 identity statements, not goals, and not affirmations you found on the internet. Yours, just 3 statements that describe the golfer you are. At your best, use present tense, first person. Keep them short. Here's some suggestions to help you. I trust my read. I play. 1 shot at a time. I compete with calm. Write them down by hand. That matters. The physical act of writing deepens neural encoding. Okay, let's move on to step 2. Deploy the 3-channel method. Hear them, write them, and see them. Record yourself reading your statements aloud and play it back during your commute to work or in your warm-up. Rewrite them in a journal every morning, just the 3 lines, every day. Put them somewhere you'll see them when your defenses are down. Your phone lock screen, a card in your golf bag, the inside of your locker. Okay, let's move on to the final. Step 3. Anchor them to your pre-shot routine. This is the bridge between the bedroom wall and the first tee. Pick one of your 3 statements and tie it to a physical trigger in your pre-shot routine. The moment you step into your stance, take your grip or take your practice swing. Say the statement internally, not as a hope, but instead as a statement of identity, as fact. Over time, and research suggests, 3 to 4 weeks of consistent practice is enough to notice a measurable shift. That statement stops being something you have to remember. It becomes the voice. Your voice. The one that speaks first when pressure arrives. Tiger Woods stood on the first tee of his first professional event with something most players don't have. Not a perfect swing, and not a flawless short game. He had a mind that had been deliberately built. He'd spent years training the voice inside his head, quieting the doubts before they could speak, strengthening his trust before it was ever tested on tour. I will own my destiny wasn't a slogan on a wall. By the time Tiger turned professional, it was the operating truth of his entire competitive identity. And here's what I want to leave you with today. The outer game, the mechanics, the swing, the course management, it all matters. But it all runs on a platform, and that platform is your internal dialogue. And golfers, if you change the voice in your head, everything that happens from the neck down begins to follow. That is the core of bite-sized golf wisdom. That is why we are here. Before he mastered a club, Tiger mastered his mind. And now, viewers, it's your turn.